Candidates running in state and local races participated in a candidates forum in Astoria Tuesday night. The forum, hosted by the American Association of University Women Astoria branch, only featured candidates in contested races in the upcoming May 19th primary, and not all of the candidates attended. In the state Senate District 16 race, for instance, Democratic candidates Aaron Dickey and Jordan Gutierrez declined the invitation. Republican Frank Mansfield also was not present. Democrat Rachel Armitage and Republicans Courtney Bangs and Tripp Dietrich did attend. Bangs, who is currently a Clatsop County Commissioner, has been endorsed by current District 16 State Senator Suzanne Weber, who is barred from seeking re-election. In the District 32 state representative race, only Republican candidates seeking their party's nomination were invited. Incumbent Cyrus Javity, now a Democrat, faces no Democratic challengers in the primary. However, he is expected to attend the forum ahead of the November general election. Candidates seeking to fill the District 3 and District 5 seats on the Clatsop County Board of Commissioners were also in attendance. This included Mike Brocious and Mitra Vazine, who are vying for the District 3 seat, and Glenn Gaither, who is running for the District 5 seat. His challenger, Rand Dufka, who was encouraged to run by current District 5 Commissioner Leanne Thompson, did not attend. Astoria School District Superintendent Craig Hoppus acted as moderator. Concerns about federal immigration enforcement dominated the questions that candidates fielded on Tuesday. Organizers and the moderator did not fact-check candidates' statements during the event. KMUN presents this recording as is, as a public service for voters to hear directly from candidates ahead of the May 19th primary. Ballots for the primary go out at the end of the month. The only editing to this recording has been to take out some of the lag time as groups made their way up and down from the stage. And now, here is the candidates forum.
Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for an introduction and a statement why the candidate should be elected. The candidates will answer written questions submitted by the audience and organized by the AAUW members to eliminate duplication and inapplicability. Each candidate will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond to each question. The timekeeper, right at the front here, the timekeeper will inform the candidate when 30 seconds are left and then when the time is finished. At the end, that's it. So we'll start with the first question. And we'll start with, actually it's the, Rachel, you'll start with the introduction and a statement why you should be a candidate to be elected. Thank you.
Welcome everybody. My name is Rachel Armitage. I'm your former state senator. I served in the seat back in 2022. As I look out over the crowd, I have to wonder how many of you grew up here, how many of you moved here and decided right away that Clatsop County was home. How many of you maybe moved here and decided somewhere along the way? I will not ask that question for those of you who are still making up your minds. But I just want to point out that there are folks from all walks of life here. Tonight we have Democrats and Republicans. We have Working Families Party and non-affiliated folks. But the thing that we all share is that we love the coast. I love the coast. That is why I am here tonight. It is a chaotic and expensive world out there. I think we all have so much more in common than we think we do, which is that, we're tired. We need to see a change. And at the end of the day, we all love our home. When I was appointed back in 2022, nobody expected a freshman appointee to get right to work, but I sure did. I brought back millions of dollars in infrastructure funding. I supported bills that I thought would be good for the coast, and I stopped the worst bills that I thought would have a negative impact here. And since then, I've worked with the Oregon Community Foundation. I've also worked as a waitress. I think somehow both of those roles have been equally insightful about what's going on at the North Coast. Our cash register is probably more accurate about the state of the economy than the Dow Jones. Anybody who knows me at the end of the day knows how fiercely I care about this community and advocate for you. And I am out in Salem and when I'm in other parts of the state. And that's what I'm here to be. I'm here to be an independent voice for this district. Look forward to talking further. Thanks so much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Courtney Bangs. I'm a current Clatsop County Commissioner and I guess you could say a retired educator. I resigned from my teaching position this summer in order to pursue running for Senate District 16. I'm working for our community because I enjoy solving problems for folks. I enjoy being a listening ear and trying to make the livability in our community better. When I first started as a Clatsop County Commissioner, I saw needs for improvements in rural infrastructure and also needs in our child care desert. And I would say by working in partnership with our current Senator Weber, Congresswoman Bonamici, and myself, and within the Clatsop County Commission, we were able to bring rural connectivity to rural Clatsop County in regards to spectrum services. For me, that was a really exciting achievement. In regards to childcare, prior to the development or inception of our Clatsop County Child Care Resiliency Grant Program, we were a child care desert in Clatsop County. One of the reasons why I had to take a brief hiatus from teaching. And so I'm just really excited to be here tonight. I feel like I am uniquely positioned to understand both the issues within our educational system for our children, as I have 3 children at home, but also the troubles of being part of the working class. And every decision that I make in Salem is going to directly impact my family and my parents and our small community. And so I just hope to answer any questions that you may have tonight, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Trip Dietrich. I'm an 8th generation Oregonian. Been a resident and member of the community out on the coast since I was born. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. I employ hundreds of people and care for hundreds of their families through my employment. You know, I didn't really want to run, but I have to listen to about the members of my community that are tired of the ineffective leadership that we've had over the last 10 years. They want someone who can sign the front of the paycheck and not just the back. You know, what we really need here is a strong, hard change, an entrepreneurial spirit, which is what I have. I've created lots of businesses. I've worked everything from warehouse boy, chef, to fisherman, to down business owner, property developer. We need to have the change here that actually makes effective change in Salem. And I also want to thank AAUW for having this tonight. This is a wonderful forum. Thank you.
Okay, the first question, we'll start with Rachel and then just go down the line. If the federal government wants an immigrant detention center here, will you oppose it?
Yes. I don't think we need that here. I think this is, look, after the decline of the timber industry in the 90s, we have worked really hard to diversify our local economy, and you know, I don't think that a detention center quite is the right vibe, but I really care about this issue on a human level. I grew up in church. My dad is a pastor, and I think this is one where I think about, you know, the book of Mark that says, what good is the world if you gain the world and you lose your soul? And I think when it comes to immigration and the way we treat immigrants and refugees here on the North Coast, we better be careful because we're really at risk as a nation of losing our souls on this one, folks.
Well, I took that question one step further and actually had a conversation with our delegation in DC. And we are not positioned to have such a facility in our community. We don't have the infrastructure, nor do we have the zoning. And so I guess to assuage fears of the community, it's not possible for us. And so though I understand that it is a question that many had when Secretary Mullins was here, it's not, Secretary Mullins was here for our Coast Guard and to honor the gentleman that recently passed away. And so I took those questions and concerns to our delegation. I asked them, but again, I circle back to reasoning of we don't have the infrastructure here. I hope to always be able to assuage fears of my community.
Thank you. Go ahead, Trevor.
All right, well, I'm pro-strong border policy. We need to have that in our country. And if there is a need for a detention center out here, that may be the case, but we don't know that right now. I know that for me, personally, when it comes to illegal immigrants in the state, I have employees that have come in as illegal immigrants, and I've gotten them their citizenship. I think that there needs to be some compassion, but we do have to have strong border policies, and we do have to enforce them. Otherwise, what's the point?
Second question, we'll start with Courtney. Will you prioritize the safety and sense of well-being of our immigrant neighbors when you are making decisions as our representative? No, you're good. Will you prioritize the safety and sense of well-being of our immigrant neighbors when you're making decisions as our representative?
So my belief is that we should not be offering sanctuary to violent criminals. I support our law enforcement. I support the health and well-being of our community members. It is a uniquely worded question, but at the end of the day, if you are a violent criminal, it's very similar to having a guest in your home. If your guest is going to come and break your windows and burn down your kitchen, they do not deserve to continue to be a guest in your home. I have a very similar perspective in regards to immigration, but I will say, Consejo Hispano, I always mispronounce that, I apologize, does a wonderful job representing our local community, and I have a good relationship with Norma, who runs that program. I do hope that our federal government, as this is a federal issue, I hope our federal government can develop a manner in which to allow folks who are wishing to live the American dream in our country to have that ability to do so. There needs to be reform at the federal level. But again, I support our local law enforcement, and if you're a violent criminal, I do not believe that you deserve to have sanctuary in our home. Thank you.
Will you prioritize the safety and sense of, will you?
I got a question. I just want to know if you want to be honest.
Oh, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, when you talk about the safety and security of our immigrant neighbors, what about the immigrant neighbors that are causing crime? That they're making it unsafe for them too. We need to go and get those people. Now, a lot of people are worried that immigrants that are working on our farms and in our community are not going to be safe. I have to tell you, I've gone to farms. I've been working on farms for the last 6 months in this district. I've seen things, and the people there that are working, they are not afraid. They're not afraid at all. What they're really afraid of are rapists and drug dealers in their community that they want to get out. So when you talk about the safety of our immigrant neighbors, well, you have to look at that community also. Because it's not just immigrants that are doing those crimes. We go after white people too. We go after people of all colors. It's the criminals that we're going after, and that makes them safer.
You know, I just want to say, look, I think it's wild that we jump from conversations about immigrants and refugees to conversations about criminals. Like, we know that those two immigrants and refugees are human beings. It's everybody in Astoria. We have a Scandinavian festival because so many of, you know, our grandfathers and grandmothers were immigrants and refugees. That's literally who we are as a community. So of course I prioritize the safety. And frankly, you know, masked, unidentifiable federal agents coming into the streets of, you know, Warrenton and Seaside and grabbing people off of the streets is confusing even for our own law enforcement. That's what local policy officials that I talk to tell me. So yeah, absolutely. I think this is a safety issues, and referring to immigrants as criminals is wild and wrong.
The next question, and Tripp, will start with you. Will you hold federal agents accountable to the law and the Constitution when they interact with us and our neighbors?
Well, I'm running for a state senate seat, and if you guys do not like the federal government, well, then you can leave the federation, or that's not really possible, is it? So, will I hold them accountable to the extent of the law? That is what they are accountable of. We have a constitution, we have a state constitution. That is what all comes back down to. So how as a state senator, I will uphold our state constitution to the best of its ability. But we do live in the United States of America, and we do fall under a constitution which gives every person here the right to have an opinion that disagrees with me. But the main point is that we are all still community members. And we have to remember that, number one, because that divisiveness is what's tearing this place apart.
Yeah, I'll repeat the question. Will you hold federal agents accountable to the law and the Constitution when they interact with us and our neighbors?
You know, to be quite honest, I on some level I do agree with Tripp here. That is a federal issue. I think that's something we really need to be talking about with Senators Wyden, Bonamici, and Merkley, who I know are absolutely on it. I think for me, I really support the fact that Oregon is a sanctuary state, and I will uphold our sanctuary laws. And I think beyond that, what we can be doing at the community level, I think I look to local leaders, you know, especially Consejo Hispano, and as far as how we can be addressing this issue and helping our neighbors feel safe.
I'm running for state senate. I'm not running for a federal position. Again, immigration is a federal concern. If somebody's breaking the law, of course, we should hold them accountable. At the end of the day, there are good and there are bad in every job description. And so I do hope that if a federal agent is breaking the law, that they are held accountable. I will circle back to 2021 when Kate Brown enacted some sanctuary laws that put our local law enforcement at risk. And when I say it put them at risk, they are not allowed to communicate with their federal partners. And it creates that danger that is happening within the communities. And so at the end of the day, I want our community members to have the best opportunity to be safe, but I also would wish the same for our local law enforcement. They should also have the opportunity to have all of their tools in order to be safe in the job that they are being asked to do. So again, if federal law enforcement is breaking the law, I would hope that they would be held accountable.
Okay, next question. This question is for Rachel to start. Will you protect the hard-fought rights of women in Oregon?
Yes, absolutely. I was staff in the Oregon legislature in 2017 when we passed the Reproductive Health Equity Act, and I think for me, this isn't just about women. This is also a healthcare access issue. It's one thing to pass a bill in Salem, but when we're facing the closure of the Seaside Labor Delivery Ward, I think it's really important to ask ourselves, whether we have our priorities in the right place. I think healthcare for women is about making sure that not only do you have the right to healthcare, I think it's also about, do you have the facility? I think far too many people are waiting a year and a half to get appointments on the books. People have to drive to Longview and Tillamook County and Portland and wherever else to get necessary health care on just about anything, and I don't really think that's okay. So that's how I, as a rural legislator from the North Coast, would approach that question.
I'm a Right to Life endorsed candidate. In the state of Oregon, we already have the most liberal abortion laws in the world. You can abort your child up through 40 weeks. I feel like, and that is codified in state law. I think the conversation leads to, should our taxpayers be paying for elective procedures? Personally, I've had 3 children, and I would love to have my abdominal wall repaired, my boobs lifted, all of those issues that occur with giving birth to many children. Those would be elective procedures. I would not ask my taxpayers to pay for those elective procedures. Now, medical emergencies, totally different story. But an elective procedure, I do not believe should be the burden of the taxpayer. We've had an increase of up to 80% in late-term abortions in the state of Oregon in the last few years. I feel like that's a flaw in education, because abortion is trauma to the woman, to the unborn child. We need to educate our young ladies for hormone replacement therapy, for perimenopause. It's a travesty that they haven't researched the female reproduction as much as they've researched the male. So again, women need to be talked about a little bit more. We really do. So, thank you.
I grew up with one of the strongest women in the world. My mother works to this day 6 days a week. She is a hard woman, just like the rest of that side of the family. Bishop ladies are all pretty strong. In fact, the majority of her employees are all women, and I've grown up in that environment around strong women. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for mothers and for all the women in our state. I am an oral endorsed person. I am pro-life. I do not believe that it's right to kill a fetus. And stop.
Okay, the next one, we'll start with Courtney. The state of Oregon ranks 48th or 49th for funds spent per student. Clatsop Community College and 15 of the 17 community colleges in the state are reducing budgets for 2026 and 2027. What are your thoughts?
It's an absolute tragedy. That's my thought. I've been on the front lines of the conversation regarding the Habitat Conservation Plan because it was going to effectively defund Clatsop Community College and Tillamook Community College because our timber dollars poured directly into those agencies. Education is a #1 priority in my heart. I have 3 beautiful children, aged 16, 14, and 12. They deserve an education. They deserve to have the teachers that support them be supported. There are so many flaws in the funding system in the state of Oregon that it would take all night to discuss it, but it's an absolute travesty, and I 100% support community college education, rural education, and frankly, we need equity across the state in what we offer our children. I'm sorry, we shouldn't have to be looking at laying off a Spanish teacher in a rural community. That's a required course for college. Goodness sakes. Well, so many issues in the position that our state is putting us in our education system. The unfunded mandates, having directives given to our school districts and not have the ability to fund the staff in order to create, compliance with that directive. There's a lot of flaws. I 100% support education in our community. Thank you.
This state and its legislators have failed our students. We are third lowest in the nation. It needs severe reform. When kids have to go and take remedial courses after they graduate just to get into community college, there's something wrong. We need to put an emphasis on bringing back our education to the basics. We need to keep politics out of school and encourage vocational training, because the real jobs in this area are the jobs that come from vocational training. We need to link those up with jobs that in the market so that kids can do an easy transition from from school into the workforce. That's my thoughts on that.
Thanks so much. So, I just want to zoom out a little bit and let you all know that this is not just an education funding problem. This is not just a Clatsop County problem. This is a state of Oregon problem, and really it's a PERS problem. We stopped talking about PERS when the Student Success Act passed a couple of years ago, and I don't know if any of you could see what is quite obvious with your very own eyes, but that particular piece of legislation, it didn't work. We have Portland State University shutting down entire departments, Columbia County, the Columbia County Commission, and Tillamook County Commission, and Jackson County Commission are all dealing with funding shortages because we all have to deal with this crisis across the state. I think we need to relieve the pressure off of local governments, especially rural local governments, and then beyond that, I do think we need to fund education. Education in particular, we can talk about smart budgeting choices and efficiency in other places, but, I'm the daughter of a teacher, and as far as I'm concerned, I think when you talk about things like smaller class sizes, more planning time, more supports in the classroom, anything education related that you talk about that we need to improve that would actually improve outcomes requires specialized staff. It does require funding. I think it's time to get our act together. We've been talking about this problem for way too long.
Good. Next question we'll start with Tripp. If you're elected, name one person across the chamber you would work with on legislation to improve our state.
You mean on the other side of the aisle?
I'm sorry.
Could you say across the chamber?
Across the chamber.
Bruce Starr. Bruce Starr.
Would or have, because every accomplishment that I can point to in the state legislature that I achieved in 2022 happened across the aisle. When Suzanne Weber, then state representative, passed a study on Highway 6, I was the one who carried it in the Senate, and yes, I know we're not done with that issue. When we brought back funding for the Columbia County Courthouse, that was something I did hand in hand with a Republican. I also was a part of a little thing called the Coastal Caucus, which is a bipartisan group of legislators. It's the most trusted caucus in the whole entire legislature. We work together on coastal issues all the time. I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm ready and willing to work with folks across the aisle. I think I even visited with Commissioner Bangs on childcare. I'm really ready to work with anyone and everyone. I care about passing good ideas. That's why I say I'm an independent North Coast voice, because I think that's how we do things around here.
Senator Reynolds, she is a pediatrician, and she has launched legislation this past year in regards to artificial intelligence, particularly with children and in the classroom. And I have had some wonderful conversations with her. She cares about our rural pediatric issues in regards to access and wait lists and wait times. She's been a really good conversationalist in regards to pediatric mental health that I've had a deep interest in improving for the children in our community. And so, Senator Reynolds, the thing is good ideas don't have a red or a blue behind them. Good ideas just are good ideas. And our children are nonpartisan, and so Senator Reynolds would be an individual that I would love to work with.
Thank you. This next question, we'll start with Rachel, right? Okay. What is your opinion of the current plan to handle problems with our transportation infrastructure, roads, and et cetera?
And how many seconds do I have again? My goodness. I think we are maybe too well aware these days that things cost money, and that unfortunately is true of our roads and bridges. But I think the conversation is a little bit more nuanced when it comes to the North Coast. So, it's not always what we're doing, sometimes it's how we're doing it. When it comes to the current transportation proposal, I actually really think the gas tax is the least of our worries. Everybody here pays 0.1% of their income on a state transit tax. And I don't think any of us have the same access to services as somebody in Portland who can just hop on the Max and get where they need to go in 15 minutes, and I think that's a shame. So the way I approach this issue is making sure that, when you're paying taxes, that one, the agency is held accountable, that your dollars are being spent efficiently, effectively, that ODOT is coming in on time, on budget, and also, if you're paying tax dollars to the state of Oregon, that money better be coming back to the North Coast, otherwise I'm not voting for it. That's just what it is.
I am an obvious vote no on the gas tax, mainly just because measurable outcomes is what I focus on. And for the North Coast and for Senate District 16, we don't have any measurable outcomes for the taxes that we are paying. We have the bump. We have the roller coaster ride of Highway 101. We have the cliff edge of Highway 47. We have the rock wall that is falling down on folks' heads just past Lana on 30. So we have a lot of infrastructure issues that have had zero attention. And so if the state of Oregon wishes to continue to ask the North Coast taxpayers for money, I hope that there's a measurable outcome. And I would demand a measurable outcome. And that is really why I would vote no on this gas tax, mainly just because to force the conversation. Legislature has the power to reallocate funding away from special projects. We need to reallocate funding away from special projects and care for our home. Care for our current infrastructure. I taught my daughter to drive on Highway 30. Those S-curves are a parent's nightmare when it comes to the safety and hazard of our children. I was integral in getting the speed limit in Napa slowed down to 45 because we had had a death on that highway. They were hit by a car. So, measurable outcomes. If the state of Oregon wants to continue asking us for money, I am going to ask for what is the measurable outcome.
We don't have a funding issue, we have a spending issue. ODOT has no idea about how to properly spend on the projects. They don't do cost controls, they're top heavy. The workers on the ground can get the job done, but it's the administrative costs which are bleeding us dry right now. We need to have pay for performance. If you don't provide a service as an administrator or as a manager, you don't have a job anymore. We need more innovative ideas about how to use the money that we do have, because we have plenty of money. I mean, the budget has doubled over the last 10 years, and yet we still have all the problems on the roads still. There needs to be reform, and there needs to be oversight on each one of those projects. Thank you.
That was our final question. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Start with Adam to provide up to 2 minutes for an introduction and a statement why you should be elected. Thank you.
Hello. First off, I want to thank the AAUW for hosting us and having us here. Thank everybody for showing up and listening to us. Oregon is in decline and has been for about 20 years or so. Education, crime, taxes, regulation, all in the bottom of the metrics for those. I'm sure all of you have seen that decline. My name is Adam Dean. I'm running for House District 32. I was born and raised in Astoria, went to school here. Oh, sorry. It's kind of cool being back here. I haven't been here for a while. I'm a local police officer and a business owner. I'm a husband of 25 years. I'm a father and I'm a grandfather. I'm running for office to try to get our state back to where it was when I was a kid, because we have definitely strayed away from that. I want to make it better. I want to make the coast better, make it have better livability for everybody, make it more affordable, reduce crime, all the things just to make it a better place to live. So I think that based on my background as a police officer and a business owner, that gives me a unique set of skills to hold this position. So again, thank you. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Hi everybody, my name is Christian Hall. I'm also running for House District 32, and if you don't know what that is, that encompasses all of Tillamook County, all of Clatsop County, and a little tiny sliver of Columbia County. I was born and raised in Astoria, also graduated from Astoria High School. I'm a 5th generation to the area. My great-grandfather was a fish trapper. I have a brother who's a tree faller. I have another brother that works maritime on the Columbia River, and a cousin who's a commercial fisherman. My roots run deep in this area. My dad was a well-respected doctor in the area, and he was drafted into Vietnam, suffered a traumatic brain injury, and came back here and couldn't practice medicine anymore. And the community came out to help us enforce. We'd find buckets of fish on our front porch, we'd find soda pops stacked up as tall as I am, and I'm 6'1", and the community came to help us. And now it is my turn to help you. I graduated with an electrical engineering degree and had a almost 30-year career at Intel. I was a director of engineering for 15 years, where I led a team of over 100 people, had multi-million-dollar budgets. I knew how to manage a budget and stay within your means. There was no asking for more money. If you wanted more money, tough. You had to live within your means. Then I ended my career as a director of marketing, where I was responsible for planning a $5 billion business. And in that, I learned that there are many organizations in Intel that don't agree with you. Sound familiar? And I learned what you need to do to break through that. And the key thing is to build relationships, find common ground, and build coalitions. And that's what I do. And that's the skills that I've learned, is to build those coalitions from people like you, experts in the community, to come into Salem and be a part of that. I know how to go take it beyond testimony and getting things done. So thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Max Sherman. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. I was raised on a dairy outside of Canby, Oregon. Married my high school sweetheart. We've been together for 47 years. We have 3 amazing kids and 8 amazing grandkids. I have a master's degree in agricultural education from Oregon State University and a master's in economics and entrepreneurship education from the University of Delaware. I spent 35 years teaching high school agriculture, welding, natural resources, biology, and was an FFA advisor. I taught 2 generations of kids. Many of those are still friends, and they are important leaders in our community. I taught 20 years in Canby, 15 years in Tillamook. My wife and I have called Tillamook County home for 25 years. We have deep roots there. All of us know that our state's broken. We have a state budget that's running out of control. We have regulatory issues that are driving up businesses and jobs. We have a school system that's failing us. You need a leader that has experience and has fought for Oregon, and I'm that candidate. For the better part of 40 years, I've spent time in Salem during legislative sessions, talking with legislators, lobbyists, attending hearings, committee meetings, and testifying. I was there with Timber Unity, Oregon Farm Bureau, fighting against cap and trade, corporate activity tax, and numerous other bills that affected our ag and natural resource industries and fought for our career and technical education programs. I am your candidate that has the experience and has been involved in Salem, and I'm running to take that experience to Salem and continue the work for you that I've done for the better part of my adult life.
Thank you. We'll start with the first question. The first question is for Adam to start. Will you prioritize the safety and sense of well-being of our immigrant neighbors when you are making decisions as our representative?
I will prioritize the well-being of the folks that are here legally, that are citizens of our counties, of my district. If there's folks that are here that have not come in here legally, you essentially committed a crime by coming in here. I'm not going to prioritize their well-being. Not saying that they should be treated any different or any worse, but my focus would be on the citizens of our counties or of my district.
Thanks. So the safety of all citizens and all people is important. And right now, we have to lower the temperature of what's going on. And part of lowering the temperature of what's going on is to enable our local and state and local law enforcement to do their job, to coordinate with ICE to be able to take off the criminal element and get them out of the country. That is a safety issue, a public safety issue for everybody. And if we don't do that, then we're in trouble. So when it comes to that's where I stand.
I fully support legal immigration. Saying that, though, our immigration system is broken. We have individuals that wish to come here, and we have no pathway for them to do that. An immigration system where we have a plan and policy allows individuals to come here for a purpose. We have a job waiting for them, we have the ability to bring them into the society, and most importantly, we have the resources to make that happen. With illegal immigration, that's bypassed. And that causes some problems, and it causes tension, and it causes issues within the community. We also need to focus on cooperating with ICE agents and work on getting the criminals out of our communities. And the best way to do that, I believe, is for ICE to work with our local law enforcement agencies. You have an individual that's committed a crime, they're picked up by our local law enforcement officers, and it's a simple process for an ICE agent to stop by, pick them up, and remove them. We probably never know that it happened. But when they're released into the community, we now end up with multiple ICE agents, we end up with multiple cars, we end up with possible high-speed chases, we end up with a lot of drama, and it's unsafe. So cooperation is the best way to lower the temperature and make sure all people are treated fairly and equally.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Christian. If the federal government wants an immigration detention center here, will you oppose it?
Well, the senators answered that question quite well in terms of the fact that there is no infrastructure and things to have one here. However, this is, again, a public safety issue. So immigration and our immigrants are important to us. My family immigrated here. And everybody, immigrants and the like, need to feel safe. And if ICE determines that a facility is needed to do that, I would like to have a conversation with them so that they could tell us about why they believe that's the case. And if there's a public safety issue that's there, yes, I would support them doing that.
It basically comes down to cooperation. We need to sit down with our local law enforcement agencies, our local government, our state representatives and senators, and our federal officials, and make a decision that's best for Oregon and for all those involved. And if that means an ICE facility is needed, we look at how we can make that happen. And through cooperation, if it's determined and we have a place, the infrastructure is put in place to take care of it, then I would support that. But again, it comes back to cooperation, working together, and making certain that the interest of Oregonians are met first.
So if the federal government, let me start off, I don't think that there's a need to have an ICE facility here in our area. If for some reason they did their due diligence and they decided, yes, this is the perfect place, let's build one there, I would support it, but I would have the caveat of, okay, if you're gonna do that, you build a new facility here, you need to use local contractors, local subs, and try to get as much business from local companies as we could to build that facility. I think that would be somewhat of a win-win, if you would. But again, I don't know that there's necessarily a need for that facility in our area.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Max. Will you hold federal agents accountable to the law and the Constitution when they interact with our residents?
Everyone should be held accountable to the law, whether you're a federal agent, whether you are an individual on the street, whether you're a state legislator, a teacher, a plumber, it doesn't matter. Everyone should be held accountable to the law, and I support that fully. We also need to take a look at, with the temperature of things that are going on, especially, this question's directed probably greatly at ICE. We need to lower the temperature. And by doing so, we can let cooler heads prevail, and ICE agents are here to do a job. It's not always understood, but we do need to work with them and through cooperation, hold everybody accountable, and we can accomplish the needs of our community. We can get violent criminals out of here, and we can move ahead.
So I challenge you to come up with a profession that is more highly scrutinized than law enforcement, whether it's state, local, federal, whatever. And I've experienced this for the last 15, 16 years in my career. Everything we do is scrutinized and second guessed from the comfort of your living. And people are making decisions and making opinions about what happened when they have absolutely no idea about use of force and what constitutes a threat and what law enforcement is able to do or not do and things like that. So yes, absolutely hold us accountable. We hold each other accountable, and the ones that are jerks, we don't really like them either. We try to do the best job we can. We're out there. We got into that profession because we want to make things better. There are some people that get into it for the wrong reasons. Usually they get weeded out fairly quickly, hopefully, because they shouldn't be there. The good ones don't really care for them either. So, yes, hold us all accountable. I think that for the most part, different agencies do a pretty good job of that. But yeah, I fully support holding all law enforcement accountable for what we do.
I don't know how you follow a law enforcement agent in a question about holding them accountable, but there should be no weird answers here, right? Everybody has to follow the law. So this type of question is weird to me because everybody is responsible, everybody needs to follow the law. And one thing I will say, and I agree with Adam, is we do need to support our men in blue. They have an extremely difficult job. And if all we're doing is scrutinizing them and treating them without respect for the job that they're doing, then it's going to be harder for them to do that job well. And so I've talked to many law enforcement officers. I try as many times as I can when I see one to go up and say thank you for what you do, because I don't think they see that much. And So yes, hold them accountable, but also we need to treat them with respect and understand that their job is very
Thank you. Next question is for Adam to start with. Tell us whether you are committed to the state's sanctuary policies. Tell us whether you are committed to the state's sanctuary policies.
So in my career, I've held many different jobs. I've worked narcotics for about 4 or 5 years, undercover. I've worked, I was on our tactical team. This was in Emmett-Middle, not in Canby, turn that now. I've held many different jobs and worked with the feds from all kinds of, all the agencies. It blows my mind right now that I can get in trouble by contacting ICE and saying, hey, there's a guy here that's illegal that is, a sex offender, whatever, he's not just some non-criminal regular person, whatever. Somebody that is a bad dude. Can you guys come and pick him up? Well, I'll help you. I can get in trouble and I don't potentially lose my job. I'm not sure what exactly the ramifications are, but I know I can get in trouble for that. And it just blows my mind that that's the case. So I am not a fan of our sanctuary status as a city.
I have to agree with Adam on this one. This comes back down to everything we've been saying, which is that lowering of the temperature. And right now, when law enforcement is not able to do their job, temperatures rise. And as temperatures rise, more incidents happen. If you look at locations where that cooperation is happening, you'll find little to no issues with ICE and law enforcement. Why is that? Why do places where those laws and sanctuary laws are in place, you see all kinds of issues with ICE and those things? And it's because we're not allowing that cooperation to happen. And if we allow that cooperation to happen, then you're going to be better off. So I know that the voters have voted in the sanctuary state, so it would have to be up to the voters to remove it. But I would certainly try to educate people to understand what that impact of us being a sanctuary state means and how that's affecting.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this one. I think all of us can agree that violent criminals, sex offenders, murderers, aggressive assault should be removed, and that takes cooperation. I am frustrated with our sanctuary policies when our law enforcement officers can't cooperate with ICE to make that happen in a safe and smooth manner. As I mentioned before, the safest place for our ICE agents to pick up a violent criminal is at our local sheriff's or our local police office. They're in custody, they're disarmed, and it's a simple transfer, and we get them removed from our community. When they're released, it greatly increases the chance for friction. You have individuals that don't understand what's going on. You have someone that's going to resist arrest. There's going to possibly be other individuals involved, and it escalates, and we've seen what that's led to. So I fully support our law enforcement agencies, and I would like to see them to be able to work with our ICE agents to remove those violent criminals from our society.
Thank you. Christian, you'll start this question. What would you do to get the state of Oregon competitive in business again, instead of a free fall from competitiveness with other states?
So right now, if you don't know, Oregon ranks 39th for favorability for business. That is a 22-point drop in the last 10 years. 11 of those were in 2024. Where does it all come from is we have put so many overburdensome regulations on businesses that they're having a really hard time just to stay afloat because of it. And it's not just the regulation. So if you pass a regulation as a legislator, there are other things that the agencies can then do. They can take that regulation and they can put extra rules on top of that. And when you have those rules plus the regulations, it's hard for businesses to even know what to do, right? Let alone actually meet the compliance. And then second, the tax burden that we're putting on our businesses is huge. When you look at the corporate activity tax, it's on a tax on gross receipts. It's not a tax on your profits. It's on a tax on your gross receipts. And so if you're a high margin, or sorry, if you're a high volume, high revenue business, but low margin, that type of tax kills you, right? Because you're not taxed on your profits, you're taxed on your gross receipts. And if you only have like a 5% margin, and you're getting a couple percent tax, it's not that high, but it can add up over time, you have to go out of business. And so we need to work at reducing those regulations, reducing the tax burden on our small businesses. Let them grow, let them do what they do best. We'll bring jobs back to the community, we'll have great paying jobs, we'll have ways for young people to stay here and build families here. And then we need to address the other issues like housing and whatnot.
This is an issue that I've had quite a bit of experience with. Again, I spent years in Salem. I fought against the corporate activity tax. I fought against the cap and trade. I've sat in on transportation hearings. I've sat in on energy hearings. And the reoccurring thing from the contractors, the builders, the businesses, the farmers, are the overburdensome regulations, the fees, the taxes, and those types of things. And it just constantly adds up and is creating a tremendous burden. So we need to reduce the regulatory burden. We need to take a look at some of the issues towards looking at the environmental issues. There comes, at some point in time, the cost to achieve the next level of compliance far outweighs the benefit that we gain from that. And that's one of the things that we're facing with our industries and businesses now. So we need to dial back regulations, we need to relax the tax burden, and help our businesses to thrive. One of our local mills has been working for 18 months to get a permit to have a boiler inspected. Why? It shouldn't take that long. So we need to let our businesses get the job done that they need to do. They need to be able to work through the permits and the regulations to be successful.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, they're correct. I met with the local business owner, Henry Bornstein here at Bornstein Seafood, and he was telling me that the environmental regulations force them, the water that they discharge from their plants, it has to be cleaner than the water that we drink from the faucet. That's how stringent the regulations are, and that costs them money. That's obviously too much. That's a lot to ask from them. Oregon ranks 47th in business friendliness. That's why you see businesses like Dutch Brothers and other ones relocating elsewhere, because Oregon has basically said we don't really care about you based on the laws that they passed, and they're just not business friendly. Well, if that continues to happen, there goes your tax base, and then you're running into funding problems. It's just a big waterfall effect, if you will. So we need to not have as many regulations. We need to make Oregon more business friendly to try to keep the businesses that are already here, keep them from leaving, and then entice other ones to either come back or start new businesses here. So.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Max. Climate and forest science agree that the number one way we can mitigate the most disastrous effects of climate change is to leave old growth forest intact. How do you plan to protect Oregon's forests for future generations?
Our farmers, our fishermen, our foresters are all the best stewards of the land that's entrusted to them. Our foresters know that if we do not protect the forest, if we do not have a policy for harvesting and planting, they're not going to have a business. They are the ones that can make the best decisions. And we need to let them have the option to do so. I was very involved with the forestry HCP plan in our community, listening to community input, testifying, and trying to present solutions to how we can work with the environmentalists and have a forest that is healthy and growing, and that meets the needs of our foresters who can have a sustainable harvest, and we have a healthy healthy forest is not going to burn down. So it comes through cooperation and allowing our foresters to make the decisions and have an input on how to manage the forest and to make policy that ensures that we have a healthy growing forest for future generations.
So I'm a big fan of common sense, and I think if, I'm pro-logging, pro-fishing, all that stuff. But that being said, I don't think that we go out and log everything, and then there's a big influx of money, but then you're waiting another 50 years before you can do that again. So it's common sense. It's a balance of utilizing the resources that we have, but not over-utilizing or over-logging, and then replanting and just having that cycle, go again and again. But you have to do it through common sense and do it to where it's going to work for the forest as well as for the logging forest.
So, I agree with both of these gentlemen. Our loggers know and have to be stewards of their own resource or they go out of business. The other thing we have to worry also about is there's a thing called sustainable harvesting. So sustainable harvesting is actually doing proper management of your forests so that they are sustained, so you have things to harvest as you go down. And if we don't do that proper forest management, what happens is we have lightning strikes and other things that come down, and all of our forests start to burn. We lose hundreds and hundreds of acres to forest fires because we're not doing proper forest management. Now what about the environmental impact of that? So if we get together, and this is one thing that I have the skill set to do, is to build coalitions. And I will build a team of all the loggers in the area, in the district, bring those experts together along with the environmentalists so we can all get together and talk about what does it mean to be good stewards of the environment while maintaining good harvesting of our forests, because we rely on it. I'm part of the Clatsop Care Center Health District Board. We get timber money as part of our funding. There are school districts where they're only funded by timber money. And so if we don't do something to keep managing our forests well, then we're going to lose those parts of our community. So it is extremely important to get people together to do that right.
Good. Next question, we'll start with Adam. What would you do to have our state leaders reconsider the decision to pass Oregon Senate Bill 1507, which decouples Oregon from the 2025 federal tax cuts? What would you do to have our state leaders reconsider the decision to pass Oregon State Bill 1507, which decouples Oregon from the 2025 federal tax cuts?
I'd have a conversation with them and encourage them to reverse that, because it is burdening small businesses, it's burdening all of us, and we're not getting that tax relief that the federal government passed for us. I understand that they're trying to get more revenue for the state, but that should, that's really being a detriment to us, because we're having to pay that extra tax, whereas the federal government tried to give us some tax relief, and then Oregon came in and said, no, we're going to keep that money. So I would just try to encourage them to reverse that.
This is where we actually live in a state that's blessed with a constitution that allows us to take things to referendum, that allows us to go to the people and say, is this something that you want? Do you want to have that separation or not? So we create what's called initiative petitions to go out and referendums to have you all sign and say, do you want to be decoupled from that tax code? Educate people on what the impact of that is. To businesses, this is huge. If you don't know, so there's one thing that's called accelerated depreciation. So if you invest and you buy new equipment for your business, you can depreciate it right away. That's a huge tax savings for you. They want to take that away. There's another one that was added in that if you buy a new car, buy a new American-made car, you can write off that interest on your taxes. They're going to take that away. These are things that are going to help you in your taxes. And so now, let's get out there. There's going to be petitions out there for you to sign to say that you don't want this. Legislator, the overwhelming testimony was against it. Now it's your time to go sign those petitions and say that you don't want that. You want to be able to have your say on whether you want to be separated from that tax code or not. I would go out and help and support that referendum.
Yeah, again, the referendum is going to be our way to overturn this. So if the petition doesn't come to you, you need to find it and go to it. This is a bill where the state of Oregon got it wrong. They're concerned about tax revenue. Well, tax revenue doesn't just come from taking something away and losing that federal tax credit. Income comes from building businesses and encouraging business growth. And that accelerated depreciation allows a farmer, allows a logging company, allows a business to depreciate an item at a more rapid rate. It encourages them to invest and buy new equipment. They become more efficient. The equipment manufacturer brings in income. And through better business, through growing our businesses, through helping our business community thrive, they pay more taxes. And that in turn is going to make up for the fear of the loss that the state of Oregon thinks it's going to have from the federal tax cuts with H.R. 1. So we need to encourage our businesses to grow. We need to work with them, and that's how we're going to generate income. And over the long haul, that income generated from encouraging businesses will bring in far more than the small loss from H.R. 1.
Thank you. This will be our final question, and Kristen, you'll start off with it. How will you ensure transparency and support? Excuse me. How would you ensure transparency and community support in the involvement of in the decision-making process?
That's great. I love this question because this is exactly what I want to do. So I told you that my skill set is about building coalitions, it's about building relationships. So I want to go out and talk to all the experts in every field, small business, timber, logging, fishing, tourism, all the things that are going on in this community, because that's what I do. I build the relationships, I build the coalitions, and so when things come up, my job is to work for you, to be your representative. So I want to bring in you to the conversation, so that when I go to Salem, it's not me going in and arguing against a particular thing, or even in favor of a particular thing. It's all of us. We go in and do that. You can have little events, how I'm going to have town halls where you can come and tell me about your concerns and whatnot. I'll encourage you and help you on how you can do testimony. I want to create a way that's going to be easy for you all to be able to send an email to all the legislators on a particular bill that's going on, so that your voice can be heard. This is my whole reason for doing this, is to help you guys get your voice heard in Salem. So I love that question. Thank you very much.
So again, this is where my years of experience in Salem and being part of different communities, there are a huge advantage for me. I've sat down with lobbyists, I've talked with legislators, I have connections across the board with the natural resource industries in our state. I taught their kids, I taught their grandkids. So I have connections, and I have the ability to take and work across the board with all of the natural resource industries that are so important to our North Coast community. And take those individuals' voice to Salem, take your voice to Salem. One of the most important things as a legislator on the coast is our coastal caucus. And it's going to see great change this year because most of it's going to be replaced. Suzanne Weber, was unable to run. Boomer Wright for Tire. David Brock Smith is running for a federal office. And it's my sincere desire that Cyrus Jowdy be replaced. And so that leaves Dick Anderson and Dave Gomberg. And I have great relationships with both of those individuals. I've been in their offices, I've talked with them. I can build a relationship with them and take the issues from the people, from the foresters, the fishers, the farmers that I've worked with my entire life, and we can build a coalition, and the Coastal Caucus can then take a lead in bringing that to the floor and to the committees and to make things happen in Salem.
As far as transparency goes, I would try to have an open door, open phone policy to meet with you guys, to talk with folks that have issues, that want to weigh in on bills that are on the floor. I have a network of folks through our business in Gearhart, the business owners that come in there. I'm meeting people all the time, local business folks that, oh yeah, we're talking about a fishery issue. I'm going to call somebody at Bornstein's or Pacific Seafoods, or if we have a logging issue, call somebody at Nygaard or Tevin, or somebody that is going to be able to know that subject way better than I do. So I would try to work with everybody, or work with folks in the community that directly affects, and be available and open to chatting with citizens about what's concerning them.
Great, thank you. And that is all for our group 2, so thank you, all 3 of you. We have 2 candidates for the Clatsop County Commissioner District 3. That's Mike Brocious and Mitra Vazine, and we have 1 candidate for District 5, and that's Len Gaither. So we will start with a 2-minute introduction and statement on why the candidate should be elected. And Mike, we'll start with you.
All right. Good evening, Clatsop County. How are you? My name is Mike Brocious. I'm the son of a truck driver. I started working when I was 10 years old. And it wasn't a choice. My dad said, you're coming with me and you're going to start unloading trucks. Went to work for Costco, worked for Costco as an executive for 36 years, married my wife Laura for 42 years, got 3 grown children, very active in the community. I'm asking for your vote to help Clatsop County. What do we want to be in 20 years from now? I want to make sure that the community deserves a leadership that says, let's figure it out instead of no. Living wage careers. I've been working on that for the last 5 years. Creating pathways to good paying jobs. As your commissioner, I'll expand on this work even more. Our families deserve careers they can build on. I'm tired of hearing that the best export we have in Clatsop County is our children. Healthcare access. Through my work with the Hospital Foundation, I'm committed to ensuring every single person in Clatsop County has access to the healthcare that everybody deserves. Housing solutions. I'm already working with contractors in the city of Astoria and the county to tackle our housing challenges. We're looking at zoning, available land, derelict buildings, easier permitting, high quality manufactured housing that can be built right here that can greatly reduce the cost of those houses. Bringing families, bringing people together. That's what I do. I've done that all my life with Costco. You learn the most by bringing everybody together, creating a diverse group of people that are celebrating and taking advantage of their expertise. Sound leadership. My business experience means I understand budgets. I've ran $20 billion budgets. I've ran 150,000 people at Costco. So I understand what that means. I understand the importance of working within your means. I'll ask the tough questions. I'll challenge the status quo. And I'll treat every single person in the county with the respect and dignity that they deserve. A vote for Mike Brocious is a vote for getting things done. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mitra Vazine. I would like to thank the American Association of University Women, the Astoria, KMUN, Astoria School District Superintendent Craig. Thank you for giving us the opportunity, and I want to thank everybody for allowing me to engage in this democracy. I am running for the county commissioner because I believe in diversification of the economy and keeping jobs here, bringing livable jobs here, the infrastructure of the county to ensure that our dikes are in good shape, our roads, our schools, and the budget, that we work with the budget, and that the county has received $1.3 million for the emergency services, and we just want to make sure that the county has livable wage jobs. Thank you.
My name is Glenn Gaither. I live in Seaside. I grew up in this area, went to high school in Napa, left in 1980 for the Marine Corps, and I didn't come back until 2019 when I finally retired out of law enforcement. So I spent 42 years mostly in uniformed services, helping the people in our community. I worked as a law enforcement officer. I worked as a paramedic on the streets. I've seen what drugs can do to a community and how pervasive they are, and they are a cancer that is growing in this county at an extremely fast rate. We've got all these people out here tonight that are in yellow shirts that are concerned about the safety of migrants. I'm concerned about the safety of migrants. My wife, for the last 3 years, was British and has just moved here. My mother is a migrant. She came here 47 years ago and was almost removed from the country due to a lack of poor fingerprints. Why is that? Because she's a diabetic. They almost kicked her out of the country after 48 years of being here legally because she was a diabetic, and that got fixed. I also, as an officer, worked during the Obama administration. I worked at the Washington State Correction Center. So everybody that gets charged with a felony and goes to prison comes through the correction center at WCC first. They get classified. We had a really great system going. We had 2 permanent on-staff, on-site ICE officers. The minute these guys showed up, let's say a guy got sentenced to 10 years, right? Well, 10 years is going to cost you a couple $100,000 in money for incarceration. But the minute they would show up, they were gone. We effectively can remove criminals from our neighborhood surgically without bothering anybody else. All we need to do is develop a task force in the county, which would take about a year to 18 months to do, and then start removing these people. The overdose death rate jumped by 400% in 2025, mostly in the homeless camps. And I thought that we were all trying to save the homeless. Is that not the goal? My name is Glenn Gaither. I hope you give me a chance to work for you. I know the solutions.
Okay, first question, we'll start with Mike. If the federal government wants to open an immigration detention center in Clatsop County, will you oppose it?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who you're starting. Absolutely. I mean, have you looked at what's going on with those things? I mean, they are inhumane. Why would you want to support something that is not humane? Again, we treat people with the respect and dignity that they deserve, and that is about as far from that as you can get, in my opinion. Now, again, nobody debates that we should get rid of violent criminals. I don't think anybody's going to debate that cause. But as far as having a detention center here, yet alone all the economic things that have already been discussed, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a part of anything like that. I would oppose it as vehemently as I possibly can. Again, let's get rid of the people that are violently creating violent crimes. Absolutely. We've got people here that have been here for 30 years that have created all kinds of good in the community, and we're going to say that that no longer is of any value. Remember, before 1925, every single person that lived here was technically an illegal immigrant because we didn't even have an immigrant policy. So, thank you.
As an immigrant, I have always supported immigration laws, and I think that immigration in this country needs to be overhauled because there are so many good immigrants who want to work here and pay taxes and have ID cards where they can get the same as the United States citizens they do. They really help our workforce. They are the backbone of the workforce here. And for me to sit here and talk about a detention center, it's a little arrogant because I don't know. I don't know if we have the infrastructure, what is it going to take, what land. But I do support immigration overhaul and legislation to correct immigration, so that if people want to come to this country and work, they can do that.
I support a legal pathway for citizenship for people that are not guilty of committing crimes on multiple occasions. We had people, when we were deporting individuals out of the state of Washington, we had one gentleman come in, his name was Martin Omar Estrada. The goal was to keep violent offenders and sex offenders, make them do their time before we sent them out. But because some people down in Olympia, mostly the Democrat Party, pushed, we let this guy go. We sent him back to Mexico instead of doing 15 years for assaulting 2 peace officers. 6 months later, 112 bodies in a mass grave were found, and he was responsible for everybody, all of us. I have worked with some of these gang members in the system. The stories I can tell you about the things that they have done to their victims would turn your stomachs. There are really good people. Most of the people that were here, especially in the Hispanic community, are hard, faithful Catholic folks. They go to work, they mind their own business, and the problem is that they are afraid of the same gangs and cartels that we have to worry about, due to the fact that most of them in this county got here by paying money to a cartel member or going into debt, and now they have to pay that debt back. So there is bigger danger to the migrant community than I ever will.
Thank you. Next question, and we will start with Mitra. Will you hold federal agents accountable to the law and the Constitution when they interact with our residents?
Absolutely. I support law and order, and nobody is above the law. I believe that if federal agents are violent, that they need to be kept accountable.
I did a little bit of research today. I like doing that. I've got all kinds of time on my hands now that I'm retired voluntarily. But since the beginning of the year, the governor has on 3 occasions said no one is above the law. The Attorney General has said that 4 times, and even Mr. Javity, who's not my best friend, and everybody knows it, has said it 3 times. He said it when he switched parties, because he's switching parties, because nobody is above the law. So do we mean that, or is it just a saying that we throw out there, you know, to make ourselves feel good, pat ourselves on the back? Laws have to be changed in order for us not to enforce them. Okay? We made one big mistake by changing the law that legalized hard drugs. Does anybody still think that that was a good idea? No, it wasn't. Why? Because it's dangerous. More people are dying in our homeless camps because there are more drugs coming into the community. I've spent my entire life saving lives. I did the Marine Corps, I spent time in the Army, I worked as a paramedic, and I worked as a cop. I know what's going on the streets. I've seen this stuff before. Every corrections officer gets 2 weeks of gang, what they call gang culture and gang tagging training. Our local cops are not trained in that. That's something that needs to be changed.
Well, absolutely. Everybody has to obey the law, right? I was at Consejo the other day and talking with Norma Hernandez. You know what they had to do? They had to buy 4 bulletproof vests. What have we become? That people like that have to buy bulletproof vests because they're going to go out into the community and they're afraid for their lives just because they might be reporting or taking a picture of different things that are going on. It's not acceptable. That's not the United States of America that I'm aware of. So, you know, when is it okay to just start pulling people out of cars and just because they may have a Hispanic name because they pulled their license plates? That's not okay. So, yes, they have to be held accountable just like anybody else, and if they're doing something that's illegal, they have to be held accountable for that. It's just obviously, that's just the way the works. So again, I'm more than just, again, having them held accountable. I think we have to look at their processes and their procedures of what they're doing, and that's part of what needs to be done, much more so than probably holding them just accountable. What are they doing and why are they doing it? How are they doing it? And the fear that they're creating in our community is not acceptable. Sorry.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Glenn. Will you prioritize the safety and sense of well-being of our immigrant neighbors when you're making decisions as our representative?
I've spent 42 years doing that. My entire life's been in uniform service. And I will continue to do that to the best of my ability. But I am not the kind of person that's going to allow crime to grow in our neighborhood. It is a toxin, it is a cancer that will destroy our businesses, destroy our communities. We used to get 34 or 35 ships in this county that dumped about $200 million in revenue in our community, but now we're down to 13. One reason was because somebody didn't think it was a good idea to spend $100,000 so we could make $2.5 million off of every ship. If I have a $10 bill and someone's offering me $2,500 back, I'm giving them the $10 bill. We need clean, safe streets and communities. We don't need a boardwalk that was completely littered with a homeless camp. We need to centralize the homeless, put trailers out there for the services to be on spot and on location, because if we kill the golden goose, which is tourism right now, in the community, we're not going to have the funds to fix anything.
Thank you. Craig, can you repeat that? Because I thought it was around immigration and not homelessness, but I want to make sure I understood the question.
Drive homelessness.
I'm not debating with that. I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question.
Will you prioritize the safety and sense of well-being of our immigrant neighbors when you're making decisions as a representative?
Well, yes, I think you probably stated everything pretty clearly earlier. I mean, the immigrants deserve the same as everybody else. We need to treat them with respect and dignity that they deserve. They have been here in a lot of cases. These people have been here and they've been contributing to our society and our communities for 20, 30, 40 years. We've talked about the immigration system. It's screwed up. There's got to be an easier way for these people that have been here contributing to our society for that long to become citizens. I mean, there's got to be a pathway, and in a lot of cases, they've been trying to do that pathway, and they've been waiting and waiting for 10, 12, and 15 years. That is obviously not okay. So, yes, I will keep that in mind with every decision we make. They are here. We have an obligation to make sure that everybody that lives here is treated with that respect and that dignity, regardless of their situation.
For over 15 years, I was responsible for the safety and security of up to 700 staff and students at federal facilities. When you scrutinize the safety of some people and not everybody, you can create chaos. So therefore, the safety of everybody is important. Yes, I would make immigrants' safety as well as the rest of us for the safety of everybody.
Next question, we'll start with Mike. How do you understand your role in supporting community emergency disaster resiliency?
Well, what the county is proposing is that we got the $1.3 million, and the goal of that is to continue to get all of the community, the different municipalities together, as well as with the county. Right now, everybody is kind of doing their own thing. So we've got different call centers that are out there for Seaside and for Astoria, and it makes no sense. So if we can get everybody on the same page, we're going to be able to react much faster, especially if there's a large natural disaster. Right now, we are all in little silos, which is part of what I'm trying to break down and across the board, is let's get everybody together versus having everybody doing their own individual things. So if we do this, we're going to be much safer. I think we've got another $1 million to raise on that, which we're going to get there, and that's going to make us all a lot safer as a community.
In addition to the $1.3 million that the Clatsop County has received for communication and emergency first responders, they have also received $500,000 for equipment, to purchase equipment. Right now, the 5 cities are not interfacing during a natural disaster or emergency responses. So what is going to be implemented is going to help the entire county with safety and security. Thank you.
Okay, so having been in EMS and working as a volunteer firefighter, I understand that in our communities here, and especially in the rural areas, we are short of volunteer firefighters and medics. So we need to see what we can do about increasing their numbers. Maybe put out some kind of incentive for them to join the fire department, or maybe go into the high school where we got kids that are 18, 19 years old that are looking for a career. You don't have to go to college to make a good living. You know, I've got like 89 credits, never went to college, and I was making 110,000 years as a corrections officer. I had to put in a lot of overtime, but the money is there. There are jobs in the community, fire and law enforcement and rescue, that pay good wages. I don't no, we don't have more clubs in the school pushing these type of careers and in other industries. I think that's a real critical thing for us to do as a community. As far as emergency preparedness, we need more volunteer firefighters, we need better coordination, and we need better communication. Communication is always going to be key.
Thank you.
My custom sounds.
This next question, we'll start with Mitra. How do you ensure constituents and fellow board members are kept accurately informed when complex or controversial decisions are being made?
Yes, town hall meetings are important with the constituents, regular town hall meetings, emails, flyers, and to hold meetings throughout the county will be helpful, and radio, newspaper, depending what the urgency is. Town hall meetings are fairly effective.
I'm going to ask you to repeat that question. Deaf vet, sorry.
How do you ensure constituents and fellow board members are kept accurately informed when complex or controversial decisions are being made?
Transparency. You have to be transparent about everything you're doing. The costs, the upsides, the downsides, and you have to involve the community in the process. What I've seen lately in Oregon, though, is a state government that looks at the citizens, and when the citizens say no, absolutely not, put the brakes on it, unanimously, both sides, they tell you they're going to push the gas pedal and do it anyways. Everybody thinks that their legislators are fighting these offshore windmills. Nobody wants these things. But there are legislators who are taking steps to move that process forward because other people will profit out of it. Who wants windmills? I don't. Whales are already dying off the coast in high enough numbers as it is. So the best way to communicate with the public is open transparency, no secrets, put out the budget, and let everybody be involved in it. And when we have city council meetings, something that I noticed a lot of for the few that I went to is that a lot of people don't talk. And the amount of time that some people need to talk is a little bit more. So we need to be able to hear and listen to everybody so that we have all the options on the table. And I don't normally talk like this. It's chemo day, so chemo Tuesday. So it's just a little dry.
Well, I think there's a number of different things. If you look at I've been to probably a dozen of the county commissioner meetings with Courtney and some of the others there, and they have great discussions. I would like to encourage us to have a little bit more discussions on some things and invite more people that are experts regarding with the topic that we might have. Another one that I would be doing is doing a constant monthly newsletter to my constituents. Here's what's going on. Here's what's coming up, which is probably just as more important as what's been going on. What do we got coming up? What's on the docket for the next month so that everybody is aware. I've already started some forums. We've got a forum scheduled in the next couple of months to talk about homelessness at the Liberty Theater. We've got another one scheduled to talk about veterans and some of their needs. There's a lot of things in the community that the community doesn't understand that's going on. We need to keep everybody informed, and I plan on doing that with these forums. We'll probably be doing them once a month is my goal. There's enough topics out there. The goal of those forums is not necessarily to have a debate. The goal of the forums are going to be for information so that everybody can understand what these various organizations are doing. Lots of behavioral health, CCA, the veterans, all of those organizations have great things going on at the Q centers, and we need to make sure that the public is aware of that. So that would be what I would be doing.
Next question, we'll start with Glenn. What is your stance on data centers in Clatsop County?
We don't have the energy infrastructure for that. That's my response. We don't have the juice and electricity being produced in Oregon currently for all these data centers. We're going to have to bring in nuclear energy. I know that it's not popular, natural gas, and other forms of energy, but what we're producing now, and as we're cutting our energy supply isn't going to work to power these things. And with artificial intelligence coming online, that's gonna require even more energy. But the one thing I know about that is that everybody uses their cell phone, everybody uses their computer, and so it's a service that we need, but we need to restructure our energy in the community, in the state, before we can even think about taking on big energy suction projects like that.
Well, I had an article in the paper on this topic a couple of weeks ago. So obviously I am extremely opposed to a data center. The amount of energy that they take is equivalent to 10 to 12,000 households. The amount of water they take is similar. And that in a typical medium-sized data center today takes up over 200 acres. The site that we're looking at that the county has, the biggest site that we've got that's developable is 135 acres. So a medium size wouldn't even fit there. Yet alone, and when they are done, other than the construction, they employ 15 to 30 people. And they take up hundreds of acres, utilize all kinds of water, all kinds of natural resources. I would be vehemently opposed to a data center here. We do not have the facilities, nor do we have the water, nor do we have the energy, and it doesn't employ anybody when it's all said and done. And I bet you in 5 years, they're going to be obsolete, and there's going to be something else that's going to be done.
I brought up the possibility of data centers. I have researched. There are artificial intelligence data centers that produce their own electricity, but as of now, we don't have the infrastructure in the county to have a data center. So I will oppose it right now.
Okay, next question, and we'll start with Mike. Some of us are concerned about being overcome by tourism in this once working town. What ideas do you have to keep some balance?
Well, I think this is what I'm all about here. You know, I believe in economic diversity at the end of the day. We've got to have a diverse economy so that we don't become dependent on any one thing. We've seen what happened in the forestry industry in the 1970s and 80s. It basically devastated towns that are still devastated. So we've got to continue to drive diversity. I am a firm proponent of creating living wage, not just jobs, careers. I've been doing that throughout my last 5 years here. We've been working with the college. We took a welding program from 15 students to 45 students. We took it from 2 years to 90 days. We fully funded their scholarships. They're 100% being employed in our community. That's one example. Another one is we're working with the maritime industry. There are 300 jobs in this community available in the maritime industry that pay $85,000 and more. We've got to tell the people what the stories are. These jobs exist. We're working with healthcare. I'm on the hospital board, and we've got 100 jobs open in healthcare at Columbia Memorial Hospital. We've got to start filling those jobs. Again, if we have a diverse economy, we're not going to be reliant on any one thing. Tourism is an important aspect of who we are. It drives people here, which ultimately could drive people that may want to live here and bring their business here. So we want that business, but we do not want to become a tourist area. Unfortunately, those jobs tend to also not pay huge wages, which are creating other problems.
Well, having worked in vocations and career technical trainings for almost 20 years, I have had to look at labor market trends and labor market information and what the country or a county or a state is looking for. This county needs to have jobs that are not seasonal, that are jobs people can get 12 months out of the year. We do not want the children or the people that are living in the county right now to leave this county in order to get jobs. As a board member on the Board of Education at Clatsop Community College, I have asked the president to come up with a comprehensive plan to respond to the needs of the expansion of the Columbia Memorial Hospital. As a college, we must see what they need right now, and if we have to offer more classes, we would. So the natural resources, we have to support our fishing industries, we have to support our natural resources and tourism, but that we cannot depend on just tourism.
I do agree with the gentleman on the end that we do not have enough family support wage jobs in the county. The average median income is $3,300 a month. The average rent is $2,050 a month, right? Every place that's renting out wants people to have 3 times the income. We don't have people that have 3 times the income on average. I think only 31% of the people in the county reach that, and they continue to build affordable worker housing, which isn't affordable. So when he's talking about cutting tourism, I'm trying to think, because I was raised here. I went to Seaside as a little kid. We went to Cannon Beach as a little kid. That's where everybody went to recreate. What he's failing to mention is that tourism is basically small business. It's the candy shop that's been in Seaside forever. It's the bumper cars that have been in Seaside forever. You know, it's all the businesses in Astoria that people come to off of the ships and they drop their money. That's revenue. We can't afford to drop any revenue. We cannot afford to look at any industry and say, no, we don't want that industry here. When it's the golden goose that lays the egg that pays for our services. We need every dollar coming into this county, and we do need to expand our industry in order to get higher wage jobs.
Thank you. This will be our final question for tonight, and Mitchell will start with you. Locally, over the past 10 years, new housing resources and services have been created that serve people who are houseless or at the risk of being houseless. But the problem has grown. What is your plan to address it? And is the county government doing their fair share?
I believe that the county government, they are doing the best they can. But can we do better? Of course we can. With land use, zoning laws, we have too many regulations in this county. We need to be able to build multi-unit buildings, housing, and that is the only way that we can provide affordable housing to ensure that we respond to this shortage of housing. It's a matter of demand and supply. If we do not have so much regulations, especially in the city of Astoria, we can somehow improve that.
Okay, so I think the key word that everybody's been talking about is affordable housing. Again, when you have a median income of $3,300 a month, you don't qualify for the average apartment. A family of 2 has a median income of $5,890, and a bit of change, okay? They still don't qualify for the average apartment in the county or the average rental. If you got 3 or 4 kids, that jumps up to $2,700, $2,800. The jobs aren't here to support that kind of a rent or rental for the people that are in the county. We have to make these things more affordable. These things are set up for worker housing and refugee housing. The workers here make just enough money to never qualify. Refugee housing, though, which is run through NGOs, is a guaranteed paycheck to a landowner. So a lot of people that are developing these apartment complexes are looking at it and saying, hey, I don't have to really worry about having enough people that make that wage, because these other guys are going to get these vouchers, and we'll take the citizens' tax dollars are paid for the voucher for rent. So that gives that individual a hand up over the person that's actually working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And that has to stop.
Okay, this is something I've been working hard on the last couple of months, or the last couple of years, I should say. A couple things. In the county, we've changed some zoning laws in Napa to make it a little bit easier to build. So we went from 5 acres, I believe it's to 1 acre. Courtney can correct me if I'm wrong, but we did some 2 acres, thank you, Courtney. So we've done some zoning changes there. In addition to that, we're looking at ADUs and some of those different accessory dwelling units to make it simpler to do that. The city is doing the same thing. City of Astoria, I believe that there's some property that's available that we need to just figure out how to build on some of that stuff. But here's my moonshot. My moonshot is around affordable building, affordable, high-quality, modular-type homes. I see Ed Overbay in the audience there. Ed and I have been talking about this for a while. We have a project in Seaside right now that we're working on for affordable housing with Brad. And his bid was $250,000 a door. We're doing modular housing. It's going to be $125,000 a door, half the price for a 10-unit addition there. That's the type of thing that we need to figure out how to do. The reality is, if we can do high-quality modular housing in Astoria, it's going to help our community as well as we can also build that as a business model and export those. We've got a port, we've got a waterway. This is a business. I've seen this done in other communities. Elkhart, Indiana has built an RV place out of that. So again, if we can do high quality modular homes, we can reduce the price of a $400,000 house to probably $250,000, and that makes it a lot more affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was our final question for tonight. I'd like to thank our candidates who are on stage and all the candidates who participated, as well as thank the audience for being here and their participation. And have a good evening. Thank you.